Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Outcast. So a really good episode, so many twists and turns, just picking up where we left off last episode with Megan getting possessed and the whole, accidentally killing Mark thing. What's just really disturbing is when you see her, placing her finger, just touching his eye like that. It just kind of made my skin crawl a little bit just seeing that. But it's very interesting because this is our first time fully seeing what it's like the first day of someone, like those things coming into someone. You get a little bit of a look at it with Kyle's mom, but you ain't getting an extensive look at it. This is kind of like you're seeing it process more and more. The fact is that they are very sensitive to light, that basically all their senses are just overloaded because everything is just new to them. They don't know what anything is, and it's just that's why you see her just playing with the blood the entire time, just because like it's new sensations, feelings you've never felt before. And she just goes a little crazy, wandering around. Like even when she was in the middle of that field and the sprinklers went off and she started getting sprayed, she started screaming at the top of her lungs because it terrified her because it was something she doesn't really know what's going on around her. It's just like a brand new world is opened up and just like all this stuff is happening around her, all these feelings. It's too much. You even see her like a point, you see her kind of like digging her feet into the grass, like really getting a feel for like the ground beneath her. So, and then something they brought up at the end of the episode that I really like, when they were talking about the episode afterwards. I don't normally watch those, but I've only seen two of them, but I decided to watch this one, and I really like the fact is they kind of pointed it out too. Like the fact is Kyle was like, this never would have happened if I had just stayed locked up. Remember, Megan's the one that kept pushing for him to kind of branch out in the world, kind of, leave his house. And he's like, none of this would have happened if I didn't leave my house. He blames himself fully, basically saying like everything that's happened subsequently is all his fault because he wanted to get back his life. And now it's put his sister in danger. And it was kind of interesting that we kind of break it down a little bit psychologically about these things. Like when they first get here, what is it they want? Basically, the Reverend kind of does it best describing them as children, like they're just lost, scared children, and they just want to go somewhere safe. And in Megan's case, she went to Kyle's house because, when she was little, Kyle protected her, the whole Donning situation. But man, that whole Mark situation is just crazy because I forgot what it was. I read somewhere, I don't remember what, might have been something Nerdist related. I only saw a quick look at, but from what I could piece together, I might be completely wrong about this, but it seems like Mark wasn't obviously a big character in the comic books. What it makes it seem like is they fleshed his character out more in a TV show, which makes his death even sadder because he's a character you got to know. Like I said, this is just from my understanding. Like I said, it's like one line I read, but that's how I interpreted it. But I'm thinking that's what it is. Maybe in the comic book, his story wasn't really fully fleshed out. It's just kind of like, and he's Megan's husband. That's all it is. So, maybe I think that's kind of the point is the fact is we got to know him a little bit more so that when he dies, it kind of stings you a little bit more. Because that does sting. That sucks, especially on Megan's part. Because of like Kyle and the Reverend even went to the chief and asked him, like, yo, we need you to say Mark's death was an accident. He's like, because the fact is you come here, you're telling me the fact is that your sister killed him. It's like, yes, I understand what the situation is, that she was possessed by one of these things, but it doesn't change the fact is there's no law for that. There's no way anyone else is going to believe it. Like from the law perspective, your sister outright killed him. And it's like, you want me to cover it up? It's like, yes, because it wasn't her fault. Because basically he wanted to do the same thing for Allison, which granted, in my opinion, that wouldn't have been the right move because we see what happened with Allison. Allison had a full-on breakdown when the truth finally came out. Granted, she had a little time that, still not fully understanding the situation, but she was still tormented by it because she was trying to understand. She could never get the answer as to why Kyle, attacked her and Amber. But it's like, no, she finally found out the truth and she locked herself up in a psych ward just because she doesn't trust herself. Even though that thing's not inside of her anymore, she still can't trust herself. And so we have, when it's all said and done at the end we have Megan freed, which I'll get to all that in a little bit. But the fact is we have her free and, we have Kyle trying to explain it to her. He's like, couldn't even say the word, but, under the influence, basically. actually have Mark's go on, and it's just you see her just about ready to break down because it's just like because for her, her entire world crumbles. Like she was taking a shower 1 minute, snap back to it. Here she is, not lost in what happened, and it's like, oh yeah, you accidentally killed your husband. The fact of the matter is, her daughter Holly saw this too, and I don't know. It might be a repeat of Amber because Amber held resentment towards Allison because she knew exactly what went down, because even though she's a little girl, she still comprehends it a little bit more. She probably knows that, like, yo, daddy, I mean, it makes you wonder how much did Amber really know? Did she know that her dad lied about what went down? Because she was always trying to understand why dad isn't around anymore. And, the fact is she's terrified of her mom because every time she's around her mom and her mom gets a little angry, it just makes her think like, oh, mommy's going to hurt me again. So the fact of the matter is Megan and Holly's relationship may never be the same. I mean, whether or not Holly really understands what went down, like maybe she will look at it and be like, oh, it was an accident. But it's like the way mommy was acting, covered in blood like that. I don't know. She's definitely traumatized because you see her when she's in the like closet, just kind of like just pale and just like staring off. And you kind of just constantly see that with her, and it's just kind of like, I don't know if she could ever recover from that. And I don't know if Megan can recover from what she's done. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with her from now on. Like, will any of this connect back to the whole Donnie storyline that we've come to see so far? Like, will Donnie try and worm his way back into her life? Be like, oh, I heard about Mark. I'm so sorry. And it's like him being who he is, being a predator. I feel like he's going to try and implant himself in her life because she's at her most vulnerable and he wants to take advantage of her. That's just how I see that, because it's like that's a storyline that's still not 100% wrapped up. I mean, he tried to screw their lives over by making sure Mark. So it's kind of like, I'd be interested to see where that would go in the future, if that would even be it, or would that storyline just be done for now? I don't know. And then we had the big reveal, like the fact of the matter is Amber has the same affliction as her dad. It's something that hadn't really come up before. I mean, because it makes you wonder, like at any point in time, like, maybe because it's still unsure how his power works, because that was kind of a question between the Reverend and Kyle. I was like, how do you know what you're about to do to Megan won't end up, being a repeat of your mom? He's basically breaking it down. He's like, as you've been able to piece it together, it seems there was a timeline. Like, if you're able to get to them soon enough, you're able to pull it out. But there is a sweet spot, because there's a certain point that even in the early days, if you don't get to them in time, they take a little bit of themselves with that. When they're ripped out, they take a little bit of that person, hence Charlotte as well as his mom's case. But they were able to get to Jacob in time because it had only been like a couple of days or whatever. But, you had that guy, his name was Blake, the guy that was in prison. He had been possessed for years. Most likely in Signy's case as well, has been possessed for years. So it won't stick. You won't be able to pull it out of him. So, but like what I was getting to is like, has her power always been active? Because because I think she was she touching her mom at all when her mom attacked her? Maybe not. So, I mean, that makes me wonder if she was touching her mom and it didn't do anything, then maybe it's like something inside of her triggered, but the moment she touched Megan, it activates, and Kyle's like, wait, Amber's just like me. And it's just like, how is he going to deal with that? Like, he barely can deal with the fact is that he himself is the way he is, and just all the danger it brings to him and the people close to him. But now you have Amber too, so it's like she has to deal with that reality. I mean, she handles it well. It's still not easy, because you even see it at the end of the episode when she was like in a car and she sees that person look at it. Like, you get the feeling like she's got that suspicion in her heart. I mean, we even had that moment when like her and Holly were laying in the bed at the Chief's house, and then we had Holly sleep, but you had Amber laying in the bed with her eyes wide open. It's like understandable. She went through that situation twice, once with her mom and once with her aunt. It's like, you're going to be like, from now on for the rest of her life, she's always going to be suspicious of people that's not her dad. Just because it's like, I don't know if I can trust anyone. And you kind of get the feeling that might be what the chief is thinking when you see him leaving at the end, like leaving the police station at the end of the episode. It's like, I mean, literally anyone in his town could be possessed and he wouldn't know. And it's just like, I don't know. We did have that little turn, Aaron, break into the Chief's house. He's like, oh, like he acted like he was trying to be sympathetic, but it's because he wanted to work with Sydney, because he looked at it as a chance. So he'd be like, if anything, like, I know whatever you're doing is going to be big. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's going to be big, and I'm fine with that. If it means screwing over this town, it's fine. That kid was filled with so much hate, and I just said was because I was not expecting that situation to go the way it did. I would have thought maybe the chief would have gotten to him, and it's like, oh, give me the information. Where is Kyle's daughter and everything at? Because he's the one that obviously broke into their house and had to have taken Amber or whatever. So that's how Sydney got his hand. It's like, you little piece of crap. But sadly, karma kind of came back to him when the Reverend burned Sydney's where Sydney was staying at when he burned it. When the Reverend burned it down. Which the moment that happened, I was like, before he even lit the lighter, I was like, oh, dude, you're about to kill Aaron, aren't you? Because I was like, they made a point to point it out at the beginning of the episode. Sydney was like, why do you keep breaking into my house? I was like, he broke into Sydney's house and he's there. It's like, you're not killing Sydney. The only person that's there is Aaron. I was hoping that when he saw the shadow, he'd be like, wait, that's not Sydney, and go in and save him. But nope, burned and died. And then at the end, he's talking to Patricia and she's like, yeah, Aaron didn't come home. I don't know where he is. And then you see the Reverend look and sees that Sydney's still alive and well, and it hits him, and she's like, tell me if you see him okay. And he's like, yeah, I will. So now the Reverend has to live with that because he was so filled with revenge and righteousness. Revenge because of all Sydney's done to him, but righteousness because he looks at Sydney as a devil, and it's like, it's my duty to stop him. I have to do whatever it takes to stop him. Even though he told Kyle at the very beginning, this is something they can't do alone. He went off and still acting on his own, and now he has to live with the fact is he killed this child of the woman he cares about. Like, I don't know whether their relationship will ever recover, because they distanced each other because, last episode he put his hands on Aaron. Like, he didn't do anything, but he got a little too rough, like grabbing him and yelling at him. Patricia got a little nervous, so I don't know, because it makes you wonder in the future, like, will she try and remedy the distance between them? And it's like, he's going to have to live with the guilt of, like, crap, I killed a kid. I thought I was doing the right thing, and I ended up doing that, and I killed her son, and, and plus, he didn't outright say it, too, so that's going to be a dark secret he's going to be carrying into the future. It's just like, it makes you wonder, he's probably going to push even harder to take down Sydney because he wants to make up for his own crime, so he's going to be motivated to stop Sydney anymore. It's like, no, I got to stop you. It's because of you, blah, 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 Aaron. I bet you, it makes you also wonder, does Sydney know? I don't know, I kind of get the feeling Sydney put that all in motion. I think he wanted to use Aaron as a tool. Like, I mean, it seemed like he was using Aaron anyway, but Aaron wanted to be used because he wanted to help out Sydney. I mean, truth be told, is at the end of it all, it's sad because the kid was just messed up. He was just filled with so much hate. He just needed an outlet, and the Reverend happened to be an outlet for him. And just his hate for the entire town. So, I'm very interested to see what they do with the Reverend in the future. Now, there's something I'm trying to understand really quickly. Like, essentially, Sydney explained a little bit about whatever they are. That basically they come from another world. Obviously, we know all that. But apparently, they come here because they can't stay in their world. For whatever reason, they just can't. And then, the reason why they're around Kyle so much is because he's like, where are you from then? He's like, the same place you are. So does that mean Kyle is one and always has been one? Because at the beginning I was thinking like, oh, does that mean the thing that came out of his mom possessed him or something? And then I was like, no, that can't be right, because he was able to hurt his mom before that thing came out and came into him. So that power already existed in him. So it's like, for the moment he was born, he was like, was he? I don't know. Maybe when he was inside of his mom's womb, he got possessed or something. I don't know, because that's still something we don't know about Kyle's dad. That's maybe that's something we'll see in the future. Maybe that'll be something Kyle looks more into. It's like, okay, am I, what I am and what Amber is, like, partly because of my dad. Maybe he was kind of like, Sydney and the others, and he passed that on to Kyle. So I think I kind of theorized that earlier. Maybe I'm trying to give myself too much credit. I don't know. But the fact is, I'm guessing that means it makes him maybe half whatever they are and half human, or just fully whatever. I don't know. Definitely Amber is like definitely half of whatever it is Kyle is. But if Kyle himself is like half, that means like Amber's like a fourth or whatever. So we did get a little thing at the end of the episode. We have Kyle and Amber leaving, like basically saying he wants to go somewhere where no one knows about their quote unquote superpowers, and try and live a happy, find a happy, safe place, and then eventually bring Megan and Holly out there too. And she's like, with mommy, she's like, yeah, but first we got to find a safe place, then we can bring mommy too, because still that whole situation about Allison, being reluctant to be around either one of them, because it's like she even told God, like, move on, kind of forget about me. It's up to you to protect Amber. But then at the end of the episode, you have them surrounded at a gas station. All those people look at him. It's like, okay, they're possessed too, and they know exactly who he is, the Outcast. Which in my mind, that might be why he is called the Outcast. Maybe it has something to do with whoever his dad is. Maybe because his dad was kicked out of their world or something. Maybe his dad did something that led to him being kicked out of that world, and he landed here and he lived here. Because that's something that's never come up. We've always heard about Kyle's mom, never his dad. Maybe at the end of it, we'll end up finding out his dad was just some regular dude, and just it's solely related to Kyle, whatever his situation is. I don't know. This show will be coming back for a second season. I already knew that before I even watched the first episode of the first season, because I was looking it up, and it's like, yeah, before the first episode even aired, the show was already renewed for a second season. So don't have to worry about that, at least. I wasn't, there was a part of me that was like, well, maybe they'll back off that decision, but it seems like no, because even at the extras at the end of the episode, it did seem like they were talking like there will be a second season. Well, stuff that like what we'd see in season 2. And I'd like to talk about that really quickly. Like, the fact is they were talking about increasing the scale, like, because it was kind of a theme in this episode. The fact of the matter is, them popping up in our world was kind of like a couple here and there type of situation, but it's like every day there's constant flow of them coming into this world, and it's getting bigger and bigger. It's no longer the small problem that it started off as at the first episode, because it's kind of like, hey, it's some possessions here and there, but it's nothing too massive. It's like a few possessions in a small town, but it's like, no, this is happening all over the place. It's not just allocated to Rome, the town. It's also, possibly worldwide. Basically, they're just talking about increasing the scale, realizing that this isn't just a town problem. This is a world problem, possibly. Even talking about the fact is that Kyle has to realize, like, it's not even just about saving one town. Like, if he wants to protect his family, it's not just protecting the town they're in. Basically, going to have to save the world, get rid of whatever these things are, because if he doesn't, they will always track him down, especially now that Amber's like him too, meaning they'll be coming after both of them just as hard. Like I said, very interested to see what they do, find out a little bit more about these things, because we still haven't even given them a proper name. They're still being treated as demons, but they're beings from another world. The only reason why we treat them as demons is because the Reverend treats them as that, but it seems like they might just be beings from another world. It makes you wonder, is the way they look, is that what they actually look like in their world, or is it just kind of like that's all that's left of them when they come to this world? I don't know, questions like that, plus see where every character goes, where the story goes, because like the way they made it would seem like Kyle and Amber were leaving Rome, but it seems like maybe not, because I was wondering, because they brought up, I was talking about Megan earlier. The fact is, they were talking about like, it'd be interesting, we've got very interesting developments with Megan, with what happened to her this season, so it's kind of like, building upon that, like she will have a very nice arc to see where her storyline goes next season. So the fact is they throw it out there made me think like, okay, so maybe it will stay in town. I don't know. Not unless they kind of split the story between like, here's Kyle and Amber on the road, and then here's back in Rome, all the stuff that's going down with the Reverend, the Chief, as well as Megan. Because we also have to like wonder too where the fire chief and his wife ran off, because they were the ones kind of kept busy with this whole situation. Like they were kind of like basically the trailer basically that the fire chief burned down, where they were keeping everyone locked up for like those who were transitioning. Basically they were bringing that operation back, and it, we saw a lot of people, just so that was kind of a smaller scale of showing you like the problem is escalating pretty quickly too. There's a lot more people coming in, so a lot more people freaking out, because that's just how they all act when they first get here. There's even that lady who had the messed up eye, like because of because their sensitivity, like I guess she cut or clawed her own eye out. Is pretty rough, but because it makes you wonder where did those two run off to. We know they got away, but it's like, I mean, you saw the fire chief being a little reluctant to be a part of everything, but he quickly got on board and was helping out. So I don't know. Maybe they're going to continue doing what they're doing, but are they going to be on their own? I don't know if that's the question. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Sydney is still in town, as we obviously, the Reverend saw him driving by. So obviously he's still in town. So that kind of nullifies like the fact is that Kyle or Amber will be leaving town, and most likely they'll be kept in town because people will probably try to push to keep them in town. It's like, you're not leaving, you're staying right here. So maybe that's kind of the point, to keep them in one single spot, so it's easier for everyone from the other world to come here. It's like, okay, they have a better located beacon. It's like if they keep Kyle here, it's like, okay, everyone can come together here, keep him in one spot rather than letting him continue to move around on his own free will. Because that was kind of the whole reason why Sydney wanted to lock him up. He's like, I'll keep you locked up until it's time for you to be needed for what we need you to do. And he's like, what is it you want me to do? Didn't get an answer for that. So very curious, like what part Kyle plays in all of this. I don't know, I'm very satisfied with this season finale. I'm just very eager to see where we go in season 2. Maybe before season 2 comes out, I kind of dive a little deeper into Outcast and kind of, learn some, because at this point in time, I don't really know how different the comic book is from that. So I might, do a little research, do a little reading, and, find out for myself, like, how different everything is, before season 2 starts, so. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.